Hi, I'm here. So it's 2023. My 2022 was absolutely insane. And my goal in 2023 is to get back on YouTube because a lot of people have been messaging me like on Snapchat, Instagram, like, when are you going to get back on YouTube? We miss you. They'll see me post my baby on Snapchat or Instagram and they're just like, when do we get to meet her on YouTube? Like all of these things. So I was just gonna go through like a quick story time with you guys, and then you guys can tell me like what you want to see next. Like, I can do so many different things. So I wanted to kind of just do my labor and delivery story time because I think I'm finally ready to talk about it. It took me a long time to process it and like deal with it, and that's a whole nother thing. So another video I'm interested in doing is like my postpartum journey, if you guys want to hear and see that. New time mom journey, what I've learned as a new time mom, what products I've loved as a new time mom, like all of these things. So for starters, I think I'm just gonna tell you guys my labor and delivery. We could talk about it, and then maybe that'll make me feel better about life. So okay, so I announced I was pregnant on YouTube, oh my gosh, last summer, like a long time ago. I was due December 24th, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve. And I actually ended up having my baby on 12/12/21. And I just think that's like the most beautiful birthday ever. And she just came out so cute and so precious. Again, follow me on Snapchat. I'm sorry if you guys see the light fluctuating. Like, I don't know why it's doing that. It's currently like 8 something, 9 o'clock at night. So anyways, so I went in for my 38-week appointment at my OB office, and they wanted to do a BPP scan. And basically with that scan, I don't know like all the medical information, but basically with that scan, the way they explained it to me, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the way they explained it to me was there's a certain amount of movement, a certain type of movement they needed to see within the 30 minutes. Okay, so to preface that, the reason I had that scan was because I had salmonella. I had salmonella, which is a whole nother story if you guys want to know how I got salmonella, because it's not a normal story. It's a crazy story. It's not just me eating something, okay? It was literally crazy. It was the worst experience of my life. I had it since November all the way into December. Like, it was horrible. I couldn't get rid of it. I couldn't feel better. Horrible. So they wanted to check on her because her fluids were low because of the salmonella. I wasn't eating or drinking. So I was trying, but it just wasn't working, if you guys know the symptoms of salmonella. So comment down below if you want to know my crazy story time about salmonella. So they wanted to check her movements, and basically they needed to see a stretch, a flex, like a couple different things. Well, I don't know what this is doing. It's making me so mad. Whatever. So she failed that test. They even extended it from the 30 minutes to 1 hour. My boyfriend's in the car outside because at this time my OB office didn't allow +1s, like unless it was already documented, like you had to request them to come and stuff and whatever, because it was still pretty much COVID policy. It was 2021. So he was in the car sleeping, like he didn't even know. I'm sweating, I'm panicking, and my OB after the hour of the scan was like, you need to go to the hospital. Labor and delivery triage immediately. And I was like, okay, I don't have anything. Like, I literally didn't even have bra and panties on. I had a dress on, and I didn't have my ID. I didn't have my insurance card because he was driving, and all of that stuff is hooked up to my keys. And so we had no hospital bags, no car seat, nothing. Okay, it was all ready, it just wasn't in the car because we didn't think we were going there. So I was like, can I go home and get all that stuff? She's like, absolutely not. Your baby just failed a movement test. You need to go to the hospital. Keep in mind, the hospital is 5 minutes from my OB office. And at this time, the OB office was like 10 or 15, 20 from my house. So I wasn't even thinking like it would be the impossible to go home and get those items because everything was so close. So we go to triage, and they admitted me right away and hooked me up. I'm waiting in the emergency room. And they're like, we don't have any beds, but the second we have a bed, we're going to get you upstairs. I'm like, okay. So during my pregnancy with her, I only ever saw a midwife. I never saw like an actual, it's weird. They're like midwives and nurse practitioners that you see throughout the whole pregnancy, and then before the pregnancy is ending, you meet your labor and delivery nurse, because the office has multiple delivering nurses on call, doctors on call. And so you kind of get to know all of them and talk about your birth plan and stuff. So then depending on who's on call when you go in is who's going to be your doctor, kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I always saw my midwife, which is amazing. Like, I love Caitlin. She's awesome. And one of the labor and delivery nurses comes into my triage room, and she was like, hey, looking at your scan, you need to have a C-section, because they had like the belly monitor hooked up to me. And I look at my boyfriend looks at me, and he goes, no, we want to wait a little bit. We don't want to have a C-section right away. And this was at about, my appointment was at like 8:30 in the morning. This was probably about lunchtime. And she said, well, we could have the room ready, the operating room, at like 2 p.m. and you could have your baby. And I was like, I'm going to listen to him and go with the no. Can we keep monitoring her very closely? And they're like, yep, cool. That's fine. So finally at about 5 or 6 p.m., she came in. Mind you, I'm still in triage. Like, I'm still in emergency. There's still no rooms upstairs. Like, so I'm uncomfortable. This bed is those little tiny beds that can wheel you around in with the up and down arms. Like, it was so uncomfortable. It was horrible. I'm miserable. I'm sitting there. I'm panicking because this is my first baby. And I'm like, am I pushing her out? Are they cutting her out? What am I doing? I didn't know what was going on. So, and I'm just trying to relax and keep my blood pressure low and woosah, you know what I'm saying? And so finally at like 5 or 6 o'clock, she comes in. She's like, hey, your baby's heart rate looks good. Her movements look really good. We have a room. We're going to move you up and induce you and start labor. And I'm like, okay. Because keep in mind, I had already been having contractions for like a couple days before my 38-week appointment. So it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? So they moved me upstairs, but the only room they had open was the ICU room. And so I'm waiting in the ICU. That was the most comfortable bed I've ever been in. It was like this jelly bed. Oh my gosh, it was great. The room was huge. It had a bathroom, like everything, right? So I'm sitting there, and they told him, if you need to go home and get anything, now's your time, because within a couple hours, you're going to have a baby. He was like, okay, boom, he left. So now I'm in the hospital by myself, because again, this was COVID time. So it was only one person with you in the hospital. Like, I could only have him. My mom wasn't there. Nobody was there. So he leaves, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me take this time and try to rest, because he's gone, whatever. No. You know, they come in every 15, 20 minutes to check on you, which is, of course, amazing and perfect and wonderful. And I love healthcare workers. But, like, I'm trying to sleep, okay? I'm about to have a baby. I'm trying to go to sleep. So, I rested a little bit. And then from the ICU room, they're like, okay, mama, we have a labor and delivery room ready. And I was like, all right. So they wheeled me over to labor and delivery. And he still was at the house, because I'm also like, okay, we have to get the puppy ready. Like, we didn't even know with Knox. So my sister had to come to my house and get my dog. And we're just like scrambling. He's trying to find everything, because I had stuff in the baby room. I had stuff in my closet. And so it was like this whole thing of him texting me and calling me, and they're wheeling me, and I'm moving rooms, and I'm trying to remember the room numbers as they're telling me so that I could tell him. And okay. So they wheel me to labor and delivery, and when they put me in there, they immediately start the Pitocin. They put me on 5 milligrams, or whatever the level of measurement is, the lowest. They did 5, and they were like, let us know when your water breaks. This was at like 9 p.m. Tony got back around 10:30-ish, sometime like that. And the labor and delivery room was huge. The bathroom was huge. There were these like bay windows that looked over our downtown Orlando. Like, it was beautiful. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, this is awesome. The contractions were going good. Like, I was like, okay, cool. I can do this. Tony starts setting up his snack bar, because of course he's a man. He packed a bunch of snacks. Okay. So I'm sitting there. And about 12:30 at night, my water broke. Tony's asleep. I tap on him. I said, Tony, I think my water just broke. So he gets up, he pushes the nurse's button. They come right in. They're like, hey, mama, what's up? I was like, my water broke. And they were like, great. We're going to give you 15 milligrams of Pitocin. I was like, okay, all right. So they were like, push that button when you really feel the contractions, because now that your water broke, you're going to feel it. And I'm like, okay. So sure enough, maybe 20 minutes went by, I would say, and the pain was so bad. You know how people talk about front labor and back labor? And no, this was all over. I was shaking, I was sweating, I was freezing, my teeth hurt, my teeth were chattering, my eyes were watering. I could not, you know how they say walk and bounce on a ball and go on all fours? I couldn't move. I was literally dying. It was the worst pain. And I've had kidney stones. I literally have a kidney stone every couple months. Like, it's hereditary for me. I've had multiple surgeries. Like, this was horrible, 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 horrible. So I finally caved and I was like, I need an epidural right now. So they're like, perfect, let's get you an epidural. They checked my cervix, they checked everything. I was like, at the time before the epidural, I was about 6 or 7 centimeters, and she was like 80% effaced, I believe. Could be wrong. Again, I was in a bunch of pain. And they're like, this is perfect time for an epidural. You'll be ready for labor really soon. And I'm like, okay. Boom. Come in. I was slightly nervous about the epidural. She said, I'm laying there and I'm squeezing socks because Tony got tired of me squeezing his hands, and I'm squeezing the socks. And the anesthesiologist comes in and she's like, oh, she's so young. She's really young. And the lady goes, no, she's 23. Like, she's not young. And she's like, oh, I thought she was like really young. And at this point, I told Tony, like, go ahead and lay down and get some rest because they said we have a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? So he went ahead, he got some rest, put his mask on, put his hood on, headphones. And I was like, I'll be fine with this epidural, you know? And that was right after I had the epidural. So they come in and he did help me get the epidural because you have to bend over and hold your ankles. And honestly, they did great. That was amazing. Super quick. I felt the burn, but it was the best burn I ever felt in my whole life because I knew the burn meant I was getting relief. Okay. So boom, I finally lay down, but with the epidural, it came with extreme shakes, quivering. Like, I was just shaking. They're like, are you cold? Like, are you this? And I'm like, no, I just can't stop shaking. So I did everything in my power to force myself to sleep as much as I could in between checks. So they kept coming in to rotate me and move me because her movements would stop. So remember, the beginning problem of this, the reason I got sent to triage was because she wasn't moving correctly. Well, they were watching her on the monitor, and they would come in to roll me from side to side or sit me up or whatever because her movements would decrease, I guess, tremendously, like completely pitched downward. So then again so I had my epidural probably around like 3:30 in the morning. Well, around 5:30 in the morning, my delivering nurse, doctor, came in and was like, hey, we have to do a C-section. And I was like, okay, that's fine at this point. Cool. And then a nurse came in and she was like, listen, they push C-sections. Like, it's something with the healthcare now. If you don't want one, please keep going. Your baby looks fine. I'm watching the same monitor everybody else is watching. Your baby looks fine. And so I was kind of like, you know what? Okay, let me wait a little bit. And again, I don't know. This is my first experience. Like, you really don't know. And that's the hardest part, is like, you really don't know what's actually going on, what's happening, what to agree to, what to not agree to. Like, you really just don't know. And you're overwhelmed. You're in pain. There's people coming and going. And you're trying to make sure your partner's comfortable. They're trying to make sure you're comfortable. Like, it's a lot. It's overwhelming. It's completely just crazy, right? So I was like, you know what? All right. So when my doctor came back in, I was like, hey, can I wait at least another hour? Can we monitor her? Or 30 minutes, whatever, and let's wait. She was like, okay. They checked my cervix, and at this point, it was 9 centimeters dilated. And she was like, we want to get 10, and we're pushing. I was like, okay. They came back in, I don't know at this point how many minutes it had been, but a few minutes. I'd say 30 to 45. And they checked me, and at the time of me being 9 centimeters dilated, she was extremely effaced. Like, the cervix was perfect, everything. Well, when they came back in, I was still 9 centimeters, but she had went back up my birth canal. Okay? So finally, they were like, okay, that's wrong. C-section immediately. And I'm like, okay, boom. They prep me for the C-section. They give Tony, they throw him his blue outfit. They lay me back. They start giving me the C-section medication. And they're pinching me with this little, like, literally like meat tongs, like that you flip meat with, okay? And they're like pinching me with them. And they're like, do you feel that? And I'm like, yeah. Okay, more medicine. Keep in mind, when I got to the hospital, they gave me fentanyl. They gave me an epidural. They gave me all these things. So I already have so much medication in my system. I don't do well with anesthesia. Like, I don't wake up from it well. I get very seasick, nauseous, like whatever. And I know that's common, but it's still something that I'm like telling the doctors, like, hey, I do really bad with anesthesia, like whatever. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, can I have some anti-nausea medicine or a patch or something? They're like, no, you're pregnant. And I'm like, but you just gave me fentanyl. But I can't have like onidestrin to not vomit when you give me this. And so she's giving me the medicine, and I'm laying backwards in the bed and I just start vomiting. And so Tony runs over with one of the blue hospital bags trying to set me up, and they're like, you can't set her up, she has to lay flat for the medicine. And I'm literally like vomiting on myself. Absolutely horrible. 0 out of 10. And they're pinching me, and I keep feeling my right side, and I'm like, I feel this side. I don't feel anything over here, but I feel this side. And she's like, okay. She's like, well, I'm about to juice you up like a lot. And I'm like, okay. Boom. Don't remember almost anything after that, except Tony couldn't come with me because they have to take you into the operating room. And I think they said it was like 15 minutes or something, 30 minutes that it takes to prep you and clean you and sterilize you and get you from table to table and whatever. And the second they wheel me in there, this song is playing. They have a radio playing in the operating room. And this song is playing. And this is a song my mom sung to me my whole life. Do you guys know the song Follow Me by Uncle Kracker? And it was just something my mom always sung to me. And it was like something, even, it's like my safe song. Like if I'm having a bad day, if I'm overwhelmed or I'm really upset or something, I'm sad, I will play that song. And I'm like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Like, give me the Beat Boys and Free My Soul and life is going to be fine. And this song is playing. And so I'm like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Like, this is my sign. Everything is great. This is amazing. Finally, Tony comes in. I'm laying there. I'm holding his hand. I'm holding a strap. And they take the baby out. I couldn't even move my eyes to, they're like holding her over the curtain. And they're like, look, mama, look at your beautiful baby. And I can't even move. I can't do anything. I can't see her. Okay. So then Tony immediately goes over with her because they put her over there and they're doing her weight and stuff. And I'm laying there and I slowly feel my chest getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm like, trying not to panic because Tony is still in there. The baby is still in there. And I'm just like, okay, let me mentally slow down. Maybe I got overwhelmed or upset because I couldn't see her. And I'm telling myself, like, watch your breathing. And so I'm in my brain, like, counting my breathing. And I'm trying to slow breathe and deep breathe and all of these things. Tony and Sage leave. Tony wheels her out of the room because obviously he has to leave for them to suture me back up. And I tell the nurse, because it got so bad at this point, and I'm listening to the monitor, and I tell the nurse, and I said, I can't breathe. And she goes, what? Because the anesthesiologist is sitting here, and a nurse is sitting here, and then my midwife and my delivering doctor were behind the curtain. And I tell her, I said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And she was like, what do you mean you can't breathe? And they were like, almost like pushing it off. And I'm like, no, I can't breathe. And then all of a sudden my monitor, like I can literally feel myself blacking out. I can hear the monitor starting to change beeps. And I'm like, I just feel tears coming down. And I'm like, okay, he's going to be a single dad. Like at this point, I'm done. Like, and then they give me the oxygen mask. I'm like literally gasping for air. Like the oxygen mask like barely helped at first. And I was trying so hard not to panic because you literally, I couldn't open my eyes. Like, I will literally post pictures in the next video if you guys are interested, seeing when they put sage on my chest, my eyes are black. Like, the eyelids are black and blue. I can't look. Like, I'm just stuck like a fucking, excuse me, I try not to curse on here, like a freaking dead body. Like, it was horrible. Finally, I got enough oxygen. They had finished sewing me up. I think it takes about, oh no, I think it just died. My light died. Okay, I have to hurry up. So anyways, that is so sad. Oh no, okay, I'm gonna go fast. So anyways, they finished sewing me up. I'm feeling better. I'm breathing. They keep the mask on me. They wheel me into the room that Tony and Sage are in. And immediately, they're like, boobies out. You have to feed your baby. Well, I never produced milk with her. Like, my whole pregnancy, I never leaked. I never spotted. I never anything. This looks horrible. Let me try to move you guys over here and see if this will look any better, because this looks absolutely, oh my gosh, guys, sorry. Maybe I can get some light right here. Let me see. Okay, that's probably fine. So I can finish real quick. So anyways, so they're like, and I still can't move at this point. Like, keep in mind, I just stopped breathing, okay? My heart rate just decreased, like everything. And they're like, haha, boom, start breathing, start breastfeeding. And they're throwing her on me, and they're trying, and they're massaging me, and I can't even open my eyes. I'm laying there, and I start crying and crying and crying. And the nurse is like, oh, she's in pain. Give her more pain meds. And Tony goes, no, 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 no. I know her. She's not in pain. She's not crying for pain. Trust me, something's wrong. And what's wrong in my mind is, like, I can't move. I can't. My arms are stuck out like this. I'm laying there, and they're trying, and they're touching me, and they're putting my baby on me. And in my brain, I'm like, I couldn't even deliver her. And now I can't feed her, and she's screaming. I can't even see her. I can't hold her. Nothing, because I had so many medications in my body. And I don't remember, pretty much to summarize it, the next 12 hours. Like, the medications would not come out of my system. They gave me so many medications, which I know they have to for the C-section, but it was horrible. Like, I just wanted to meet my baby and see my baby and feed my baby, however, breast, formula, whatever, and I couldn't. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And this is something that it took forever for me to talk about and think about and feel and process. And even the pictures Tony took during the C-section, I could never look at them. The pictures of her weight and stuff, like in front of the monitor, I could never look at them for months. It probably took me 4 to 6 months after she was born to look at these pictures and process my feelings regarding the situation, because it was just so much like guilt at first, which I'll get into in another video, because that kind of goes with my postpartum. And then it was kind of like extreme like sadness, because I was convinced I was dying. Like, when I stopped breathing, like I literally stopped breathing. I didn't even tell my family that or anything again for months, because I didn't want to worry them. I was convinced I was dying. So that was my labor and delivery. And then we stayed in the hospital for 3 days, went home on the 3rd day towards the afternoon time, brought her home, and everything else from there was extremely downhill. So let me know in the comments down below if you guys want a postpartum story time, if you guys just want to meet baby first. Like, do you guys want to meet Sage first? I can do a video with her. She is crazy. She's 13 months old, so I don't know how much we'll get out of her in the video, but I'll definitely try for a couple minutes. If you guys want to meet her, definitely follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, because I post her all the time. Like, she's literally my pride and joy. I'm not one of those people that can't post my baby. Like, I'm just obsessed with her whole life. But just let me know what you guys want to see. Do you guys want a life update? Because there's a lot of updates. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna get off here. I have some work to do. And that was my story. Just really wanted to share it. And excuse me. And I will talk to you guys next time. Again, comment down below what you guys want to see. I can do my salmonella story, all of that stuff. Okay? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on social media. I will link everything down below. And I have nighttime indigestion, so I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm back. I'm going to try to post weekly. But once you guys see my life update, don't judge me if I don't post weekly. Don't hold me to that. Also, now I need to order a new light because I think she's done, like, dead. Like, I need a new light. Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.